Hey, good morning. Welcome into my shop. This is rust pine restoration and powder coating. Today I'm going to tackle a quick restoration job of, well, what I hope will be quick anyway, but I'm going to tackle this patio chair here. This is a 1940s Warmack steel patio chair, and I've been commissioned to fix this one up. Got a lot of issues on this one to take care of. Got some dents here, got a dent here. And as you can see, lots of rust and probably 4 to 5 coats of brushed on paint, most likely. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to start removing these bolts. Most likely going to need to take a grinder to them. They're pretty well rusted. So I'm going to get these bolts off, get the legs off. The leg supports are a 3-part setup. So I'll take those 3 pieces apart and get it all ready for sandblasting. And I'll take you kind of through the process of restoring this chair. So like I mentioned here, you can see some bolts here that are pretty well rusted, some makeshift equipment, hardware, whatever was used here. But all of these on the back will need to come off, and then these few up here on the top that are got lots and lots of coats of paint and lots of rust. So, and then you can see here's one of the dents that will need to be worked on here just a little bit, and then there's another one right here on the front of the chair. So we're going to get started on this and kind of go through a step-by-step process. Alright, I think I might have that one here. Let's see if we can pull that down through the bottom now. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. Alright, and you can see here how creative people have got. I don't want to touch that because I'm sure that's quite hot. Let me set this down for a second and I'll show you some of the hardware used here. It's interesting that people will use, you know, whatever's handy. Makes you wonder what happened, right? Why'd the bolt get replaced in the first place? I guess maybe it just rusted and wore out, but interesting to me to see some of the hardware that people use over the years. That's like a lamp part or something. It's all like all brass, you can see. But funny. Makes you wonder what possessed somebody to use that. Use what you got, I guess. All right, that's number 2. So now we're going to keep moving on and get to the ones on the other side. All right, I've got the last of the bolts removed. You can kind of see here how much rust and crust and paint and junk is on this chair. It's just, it really sat outside for a long time. Got neglected for sure, but anyway, we're going to get it cleaned up, get it looking new again. I actually did one identical to this yesterday that I'll show you here in a few moments. Got it all cleaned up and sandblasted and ready to powder coat. So I'm actually going to be looking for a buyer on this set of chairs, and something that I think is going to be kind of fun to do on this particular set is on the backrest of this Warmack brand of chairs, which, by the way, was sold through Montgomery Ward's pretty exclusively. There is a placard area right here on the backrest of this chair, and you'd think that Warmack would have put like their name there or a W or something, but no, they left it blank. So kind of interesting. I'm thinking about maybe taking a stamp from the back side and stamping, or even from the front side, not sure yet, but taking a stamp and stamping someone's name, maybe it's a business, name that goes in there. I don't know. What do you guys think? You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, I'm going to continue to get this one cleaned up, and it'll be a nice chair. I'll show you what the other one looks like here, so you can get an idea of what the cleaned up version will be. All right, so I grabbed the one that I completed yesterday. Let me pan out a little bit here so you can see the whole chair. But this is the one that got sandblasted and cleaned up yesterday. Quite a difference from the one sitting just behind it. But like I was telling you, there's that little placard, nothing on it, Kind of interesting that the manufacturer of these didn't stamp something in there. I would have if it were mine. But anyway, wanted to show you that and show you what the cleaned up version looks like. So going to continue now to get the armrest, leg, what I don't know what you call it, legs on this chair cleaned up. Get them taken apart. You can see right here there's a seam in that leg assembly on that side, and then another one over here. And what I had to do on the one yesterday was get it cleaned up a little bit with a buffing pad on the grinder, and get it cleaned up. And then I had to take some heat to it, heat that up, and twist it slowly, put a little WD in there, and get it lubricated, and then finally it came apart. So pretty well rusted together there as well. And on the chair that I did yesterday, where the legs had been drug, on a concrete patio or something like that, on the back side of the legs here, it was completely worn through. This particular chair has not worn through, so that's a good thing. But I had to cut out 3 or 4 inches of that tube and weld in a new piece and get it all ground down and looking good again. But I'll show you that here a little bit later on as well. All right. So next step, get the leg assembly taken apart. All right. So next step is taking apart the 3-piece arm or leg assembly. You can see that there's a joint right here, and over on the other side another joint right here, and currently they are so rusted and bound together that it won't move. I tried doing a quick twist on it, and it doesn't move. So got it in the vise. I'm going to get some heat to it and rock it back and forth a little bit, tap on it with a hammer, see if I can break some of that internal rust loose, and then we will go from there. All right, well, after about another 5 minutes or so of heating that up and a little tapping with a rubber mallet, I finally got this connection to let loose and been working it up here to where it will come apart. So I'm going to set the camera down, see if we can get this off the rest of the way here now. Just about there. And oh my goodness, wow. Did you see all of that crud that came out of there? And there's more down inside that other tube. Wow. That's a lot of years of moisture and water getting down in there. Give you a look inside this other tube here. Look. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, there's some serious amounts of junk in there. All right. Well, and here, look what's on the floor. All of that came out of that other tube. Crazy. Okay, so same deal on the other angle over here on this side. So I'm going to start that one next, and I won't bore you with the heating up of this one. I'll just go ahead and get that one taken apart and then check back with you at that point. All right, stick with us. I'm going to go ahead and get this leg piece out of the vise here and put into the sandblaster. And I'll do that now, and then I'm going to move the camera over here a little bit closer and hopefully get you a view inside the sandblaster here while I clean this one up. All right? ahead and move this over here. So this particular sandblaster, on the inside of the glass, it has those removable, not a Lexan, but just a thin plastic sheet that helps protect the inside of this glass from being damaged by the sand that's being thrown around in there. And as you can see, I need to replace mine. I have a few extras up here in this box, but just haven't done it yet, so it's going to make it look a little bit blurry. But I think if I come over here to the corner, you'll be able to see in there and see what's going on. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed here and hold the camera at the same time and see if we can make this work. Not the easiest thing here, but let's see what we can do. So the cool thing about this particular sandblaster is that it has a pedal. So you put your foot in there and you step down on the pedal, and that's what initiates the air. So you're not trying to squeeze a trigger on the gun and your hand gets tired. So kind of a cool little accessory on this particular sandblaster. All right, here we go. You may hear the compressor kick on too in a minute, and I apologize for that. But you can kind of see here, it goes rather quickly. And I don't know, there's just something really satisfying about cleaning up the paint and the rust on this stuff. I love it. Like I was saying before, this has a bunch of coats of paint on it. And I don't know if the legs have as many coats as the chair back and the chair seat. It doesn't look like they do actually, which is nice, so it makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer here. All right. Hopefully that'll stay there. Kind of awkward when I can't hold it with the other hand, but anyway, here, let's take a hit at this rust. Well, and there goes the air compressor. Now you can see that this really does a good job. It's a little bit tedious, but man, it just cleans these things up so nice. Another cool thing too is that by sandblasting these chairs, it preps them for the powder coat, because the powder coat will adhere much better to this kind of textured surface that the sandblaster gives it, as opposed to it being real shiny and smooth. So it's a win-win. Yeah, I don't think this has as many coats of paint on it. This looks like maybe only about 3, which is good, or better. All right, I think you get the gist on that. So I am going to go ahead and finish this up off camera here, and I'll check back in just a few. All right, guys, that took about 20-25 minutes or so, and I think I got this all cleaned up and looking good. Take a look at it here and see how things turned out. Not too bad. All the paint is gone now, and if you remember, I had this clamped up in the vise and had some serrations along here, right from the jaws of the vise. When you put it through the sandblaster, it really softens a lot of that up and makes it disappear to where you can't even tell. I can't even see where it was, to be honest. So, feeling pretty good about this. Yesterday, on the chair legs that I did, this is the bottom that sits on the ground normally. This one you can see, hopefully in the camera here, it's a little flattened out. But the chair legs yesterday, and I'll grab one, yesterday had rotted through, holes completely through. Let me go grab one of those and I'll show you what I did. All right, so here's the one from yesterday. And kind of hard to tell at this point, but I had about a 4-inch rotted out section right here. Maybe ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch wide. So I took the angle grinder and I cut that out, cut out that section, and then I used a piece of this 3/4 conduit right here. Matter of fact, you can see right here on the end where I cut out my piece. So I cut that little piece, little strip, and welded that in, and then smoothed it all off with a grinder, and made that look real nice and smooth. Now, the one thing that still ended up happening was I had a little bit of a flat spot there. And this isn't a rocker, so it's not a big deal, but I didn't like the way it visually looked. So I took some JB weld and mixed up JB weld and took a piece of cardboard and just rolled a piece of cardboard over this and kind of smoothed the JB weld out, so it contoured this into a much better circle. So we didn't have such a flat area here. But anyway, this one turned out good. Pretty happy with it. Didn't want to powder coat it with these big rusted through areas to where moisture and everything would still get in here. But yeah, this one turned out pretty good. And like I said, luckily this one did not end up with that. I mean, it's sort of on its way there, but it's still good and solid and thick there, so no problems. All right, very good. So that is one leg done now for this chair that I've been working on today. I've got the one back piece done here, and now I'm going to move on to the third leg that's right there behind you, and get that one done. So I'm about probably, I think I mentioned, but I'm probably 20-25 minutes into that. Probably 10 minutes into this. And I'll bet 30 minutes into disassembling that chair initially. So all in all, I'm into this so far about an hour. Not too bad, right? I mean, if you enjoy doing it, it's no big deal, and I really do enjoy this. There's a lot of sense of pride, I guess, in cleaning this up and bringing it back to where it's looking new. And I love doing that. I love restoring things. Anything wood, anything metal, I love to restore. So it's a lot of fun. All right, I am going to go ahead and get started on the third leg, or excuse me, the second leg to this chair that I'm working on today, and get that one cleaned up, and I will check back in shortly. Welcome back to the shop. Today, I'm going to start on the next part of the chair restoration, and that will be getting the seat bottom and the seat back cleaned up. I'm probably going to start out with a little bit of this rust removal and flaking paint, probably with the disc on the grinder. Just lightly hit that and clean some of that heavy stuff off so it doesn't end up in the sandblaster. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on this and hopefully have a good result. Once I get it all cleaned up, I will have to address a couple of these dents that we looked at yesterday, but shouldn't be too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, decided to take this part of this project outside just because of the dust and the removing of the paint and all the rust here. It gets pretty rough. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a dust mask on here and get started. All right, let's see what we can do on cleanup here. already, I don't know if you can see from the camera there, but this original green color is showing up back here on the back side again. Kind of a neat color. I might actually consider using that same color when I repowder these. But anyway, big difference there. Really helped with the sandblasting. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to clean up some of this flaking and just get some of the dirt and grime and rust flakes and that off of this, and I will check back in just a few minutes. Okay, I took some time and scuffed this up pretty good. Got it down almost to where it's like a little bit of a camo appearance to it. It's kind of cool looking, but I'm going to continue to clean this right up down to the bare metal. But you can see this green color. This is the original color. It's almost like an olive green, or maybe a little bit brighter than that, but I may try and take it back to that when I do the powder coat. I don't know, have to see. Got a pair of them, so we'll have to figure out what I want to do for the pair. All right, so next step here, I'm going to go ahead and put this inside of the scat blast. And I didn't show this yesterday, but I have built a little 2x6 stand that helps a lot. You know, you put a piece of equipment in there and sit it right up against that, and really helps to kind of support it so you're not holding it continuously by hand. And something else that I did this morning, I replaced the film on the inside here of this glass viewing area, so you can see in there much better. I got to get some more of those ordered. I ordered those through a company called TP Tools. They're about 15 bucks, I think, for 4 of them. A little bit expensive, but definitely saves the plexi, the permanent plexi that's installed here, because if you damage that, then you've got to undo this whole frame and buy a new piece of plexi to put in there. So it's 15 bucks well spent for those little liners that go on the inside there. All right, I am going to go ahead and start on this sandblasting, and I'll show you some progress here as I go. All right. Going to go ahead and get started on some sandblasting here. Looks like the clock says, let me get the glare off, 1:40. All right, so see how long the face of this chair bottom takes to get sandblasted. I'm going to go ahead and sit the camera right here on the trim of the cabinet here, so you can see through the glass while I do this, and we'll see how it goes. All right, here we go. I got the sandblasting of this seat bottom all finished up, And I also did a little work on those dents that I had pointed out earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the lens around here and show you where I am so far. All right, here is that seat bottom. And you can see there's an area here that's real shiny where I took a sander to it and shined it up so that I could see the high and low points. But I did a little work, little body work on it, and got that dent pretty well taken care of. The contour looks pretty good, back to where it should be. A little bit of a rise right in the middle. I'm no body man, you know, I'm not perfect at this, and I've got a few little hammering indents here and there, but that all lends to the character of the chair, and so I'm good with it. I'm not looking for perfection on these. It's just a matter of restoring them to make them look good again. Make them last another 50, maybe 100 years. But anyway, here's the bottom. Now the bottom was almost as bad as the top side just because of the rust. My inclination says that this chair probably spent a good portion of its life upside down somewhere, just like it is now, so that someone was thinking that they would protect the top side from the elements. But in doing that, it really damaged the bottom side here quite a bit. A little bit of pitting in that, but the powder will fill that in pretty good, and it'll look great once it's done. So here's the other area where there was a pretty good dent right here where it mounts to the frame. I was able to get that one taken out pretty good. I do have to do a little straightening still on the lip here in a few spots and here. And then I also have to do a little bit of welding right here. So I'm going to do that repair, and I'll show you how that goes as well. So that's coming up next. All right, I have got the welder set up here. I'm going to use a MIG welder today. Got my ground on there, got a good light so I can see what I'm doing, and hoping I don't burn through. I'm going to have to test a few spots here initially and see how that metal takes the heat, but I'm going to go ahead and see if we can close that little crack up that's on the front there. All right. Yep, I did have a little blow through right there. I may want to turn my heat down just a bit. Okay, now we're going. A little more on this right-hand side, I believe. All right. Okay. I think that will do it. Take a closer look here. So there's kind of a crazy pattern of, it's kind of a cross looking thing, but where the crack was, I'll get that cleaned up and see if I need to do any other spots. I'm no master welder here at all. All right, check this out. Looks pretty darn good. It's kind of hard to tell even where it was, but I think it was right in this area right here. But it's really turned out quite nice. Well, a few scratches and things from the grinder that kind of make it look worse than it is, but not bad. I'll show you the back side here. Here's what that looks like. So let me get the light in there a little better for you. There, you can see, get that to focus. That looks pretty good. I might even do I might even do a little touch up here on the back side, just to, my only fear is that it's going to be hard with the grinder to get in there to clean it up. But yeah, turned out pretty good. Happy with that. Okay, I went ahead and decided to do a little welding on the inside of the pan of the chair here. So I wanted to show you how that turned out. Pretty much the same thing as on the front side. Just a little cross section there of weld, but turned out good. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting that ground down. And then I'm going to move on to the seat back. So stay tuned. Appreciate you hanging with me this long. Pretty soon we'll have this chair looking good, and I'll move on to powder coating. All right. Okay, I did a little grinding on the back side here now, and I think it turned out pretty good. Not bad at all. I may even do a little JB weld over this just to smooth things out, but it turned out pretty darn smooth. Pretty happy with that. You know, doing this made me think of a saying that the guys that are real welders will say, if you have to grind after you've done your welding, you're not a welder, you're a grinder. And that's definitely what I am. I'm a better grinder than I am a welder, but it turned out pretty decent. I'm happy with it. Go ahead and get it cleaned up a little bit more and we'll move on. Okay, so here are the two chairs now, the backs of the chairs, both completed sandblasting. This is the one I just barely finished up today here on the left. Turned out pretty good. Still got a little bit of rust staining, I think, on it, but that'll clean up here shortly. Backside looks pretty decent as well. Got that all cleaned up. So pretty happy with today's results. I will end up taking some 220 to this and cleaning it up. If you notice, this one's got a little bit of a shine to it. You can kind of tell where this one's a little bit more dull. And that's because I haven't taken the 220 sandpaper to this guy yet. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up for today. Just want to say thank you all for joining with me here on this video. And I really appreciate you having stuck around for this long. And if I'm fortunate, I'll see you all here again next time. Have a great day.